Hey guys, Elden Ring Night Reign test is coming soon, and even though I applied, it seems I won't be picked since apparently people already received an email with a confirmation, and sadly I have not. But I still want to talk about the game, and in today's video I am going to talk about which bosses from the Dark Souls trilogy I would like to see return in Elden Ring Night Reign. The reason why I'm only picking bosses from the Dark Souls series, it's because in the trailer only Nameless King and Centipede Demon appeared, and in the website there was a photo of what it seems to be Duke Freya. So for now, there is no reasons to believe we will have bosses being brought from other From Software games. Since Night Reign appears to be more focused on the idea of 3 players fighting a boss, I tried having that in mind as I made my picks. One rule though, I can only pick one boss from the main game and one from each DLC. Starting with Dark Souls 1 main game, we already have a boss that is kinda confirmed, and that boss is Centipede Demon, which is easily for me one of the worst bosses in the entire game. I had some fights against this boss where he spammed the arm stretching attack more than 10 times in a row before he even got close to me, so yeah, I am definitely not excited to see him return, even though surely they will change his moveset. The boss I chose as my pick from the main game though is Ornstein and Smaug. The most iconic duo boss in the series probably made many players quit the game due to its legendary difficulty, and even though I like the fight, it's one that definitely has room for improvement. The biggest example of this is Ornstein's charge attack that will get stuck into pillars and make any player lose their temper really fast. Another thing that also needs to be done is giving Smaug a few more attacks, because once he becomes Super Smaug, he is a complete joke since he repeats the jump attack over and over again. One thing I hope doesn't get changed though is the soundtrack, which is my favorite in the entire game. As for the DLC, choosing just one boss, it was a crazy hard choice, since Manus is my favorite boss in Dark Souls and his magic would do wonders against 3 players. Another amazing pick would be a Prime Artorias with Sif fighting by his side. Artorias is a fan favorite boss, which we never get to see in full force, and I am pretty sure that seeing him on his prime is an experience that every Dark Souls 1 fan would like to have. Sif joining him would be absolutely epic, but for me, honestly, when I fought him for the first time, seeing him limping was already so sad. I don't think I want to repeat the experience for a second time. So there is only one boss left, and because almost every From Software game has its dragon, I want to see a badass Calamith flying the skies of Night Reign. Calamith was a challenging boss with a beautiful arena and soundtrack, which I hope make a return, but when it comes to its graphical design, I hope they make a complete makeover, since the graphics in 2012 weren't great, and Calamith never looked to have much of a scary presence. His moveset will also need to be extended, or else against 3 players he will probably go down very easily. It's time for Dark Souls 2, and since Duke Freya seems to be in the game, I personally think it's a pretty cool idea, since she has spider minions and she can attack you from both sides. My personal choice, however, would be either Dark Lurker or Looking Glass Knight. Dark Lurker is one of my favorite bosses in the main game, and in Night Reign it could divide itself into 3 Dark Lurkers and use its magic to kick our asses. In the end though, I have to make a final choice, and I'm going to choose the Looking Glass Knight. Going up a castle to fight a giant knight with lightning attacks with beautiful rain falling was a great experience in Dark Souls 2, but I felt the boss was a bit slow and sometimes would repeat the same attack over and over again. With today's graphics, I believe this experience can be taken to insane levels of epicness, and since he can summon someone to help him, just imagine him summoning 3 Mikalashes spamming a call from beyond over and over again. It would be the perfect fight. I'm only joking of course, but not only he could summon a boss to help him or actual real players in a fight for the ages. It's time for the DLCs, and in the Crown of the Sunken King it was a pretty easy choice since I already picked a dragon and the trio boss fight sucks. So, of course, I will go with Elana, which I feel is a crazy underrated boss that definitely deserves a return to the Soul series. Elana has a killer soundtrack, she can summon skeletons, she can summon pigs, and she can even summon bosses to help her, which would fit perfectly to the multiplayer aspect of Night Reign. A bigger arena and a few more attacks will surely make her into a phenomenal foe. As for the crown of the old Iron King, it was easy to discard Blue Smelter Demon since we already fought 2 of them. So between Fume Knight and Sir Alan, I decided to go with Fume Knight, which I hope becomes one of the final bosses in the game. Fume Knight was already one of the hardest bosses in Dark Souls 2, so putting him as a final boss seems like a logical choice, but if he's going to take on 3 players alone, his moveset definitely needs to be extended. Another thing that could go into play here would be its ability to heal to add some needed difficulty, since due to me wanting him as a final boss, I definitely want it to be a crazy challenge. Time for our final DLC, and I am of course talking about the Crown of the Ivory King. And this was the easiest pick of them all because I 100% want to see the Ivory King return, and like Fume Knight, I also hope he is a final boss. Ivory King Arena and Entrance are epic as hell, but I hope the fight has some changes because the part of fighting only his knights wasn't very fun, so I hope here we get to fight him together with his knights in first phase, and when we beat all of his knights, he will go into its second phase and he gets some kind of transformation and we see his true power be unleashed. It's time for our final game in the trilogy, Dark Souls 3, and then when it comes to the main game, we already have the confirmation of the Nameless King. Nameless is an awesome boss, famous for its difficulty, and I can't wait to see what changes they will do to the fight. Choosing another main boss from the game was hell, because there are so many good ones, so I went with a pick that most people won't expect, because I want to see Yorm the Giant kick some ass in Elden Ring Night Reign. Since we already have Fire Giant in Elden Ring, why not bring another giant into the mix, and if there is one thing Yorm is not lacking, is size. Due to the massive size of his weapon and some of its AoEs, he can actually be an awesome foe if you don't make him go on his knees every time we hit him with a Storm Ruler. In fact, don't let us have access to the weapon in the beginning of the fight, but instead make Yorm invisible when he's only one hit away from dying, and make the weapon appear somewhere in the arena so that the player that reaches it first gives the final blow in a super cool badass moment. It's time for the DLCs, and in Ashen's Avariandel there is one boss I simply don't want to be touched because it's already perfect, and I'm talking of course of Sister Freed, so the only option left is Champion Gravetender and Great Wolf. Even though this is a boss I'm not the biggest fan of, it would fit well for the multiplayer aspect of Night Reign, since they could give the normal wolves more health and a few more attack. As for Gravetender, he also needs a remake since he just looks like a normal dude, so making him much taller and an actual challenge is something that definitely needs to happen. The arena and soundtrack, however, I would be very happy if they return since they are both great. It's time for our final DLC, The Ring City, and I know this is anticlimactic, but I hope they don't bring a single boss from this DLC into Night Reign. Elflight is a shit show, I hope never to fight again, and Mither, Demon Prince and Gale are so incredible that I never want them to be changed in any way, shape or form. If I was forced to pick one though, it would be Demon Prince, since the arena at least could be improved. And these, everyone, are my opinions on which bosses I would like to see return in Elden Ring Night Reign. We are not sure yet when will the full game be released, except that it will be in 2025, and even though From Software never misses, I think I will wait for the reviews before I buy this game. Hope you enjoyed watching the video, and as always, I hope to see in the comments what would your picks be for bosses you want to see return from the Dark Souls trilogy. Stay well everyone, and I see you guys in the next video, so bye bye.